Hey guys, welcome to the Bin Zone. Shalana here, and on today's video we're going to be talking about Last Kingdom Season 4. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest you take a break, go watch something else, because we're going to dive deep into spoilers. And let's just start off, man. Let's take a moment of silence for Father Bjorka. Because I can't believe that happened. Granted, what happened to Father Bjorka so early in the season had to happen because of just his character journey. There's really nothing left for him to do, and Uhtred as a character needed to grow. So the fact that he sacrificed himself for the next generation, remember, Father Bjorka has been here since episode 1. So for him to sacrifice his life for Uhtred's son just goes to show that he was more of Uhtred's father than anyone else who raised Uhtred. Uhtred's biological father, whether it's Ubba, whether it's Ragnar's father, all of them were nothing compared to Father Bjorka, who was there throughout Uhtred's entire life. So of course he would sacrifice himself to protect the young Uhtred and protect Uhtred's legacy, because his dream is tied with Uhtred's, and Uhtred's lineage is his own because he doesn't have any kids. And again, Uhtred's sister Thera was also Father Bjorka's wife. So that's like a father dying to save his brother slash son, kind of like a weird dynamic almost. But that had to happen. His character had expired his run, and granted, while it hurt a lot because, you know, Father Bjorka was there since day one, it was a natural progression. And this season seems to be another lesson for Uhtred, because throughout the season he's also suffering loss and he's losing everything. Remember at the end of season 3, after Ragnar died, Uhtred lost his brother. Now he lost his father. And then by the end of this season, he actually lost or loses his kids. So Uhtred now is at a point where he's lost everything. He's re-lost Bebenbog. Like the guy, his uncle, his rival, the person he's hated his entire life died. So Uhtred has nothing. But before we get to the end where Uhtred has nothing, we have to follow his journey throughout season 3. And it's been one hell of a ride, because Uhtred fell in love with Ethelfled. Because Uhtred and Ethelfled were in love. And the fact that they had a relationship going on, and pretty much anyone who knew anything knew that they were together. And for Uhtred to love Ethelred so much, the fact that he gave her to Mercia says a lot, because he chose again to sacrifice his life, his well-being for the betterment of the entire England. And that says a lot about his character, because Uhtred's journey, as barbaric as he may come off and as a warrior that he may seem to be, Uhtred himself is not that character. And we really get to dive into that when he brings young Uhtred, his son, along, and his son doesn't know much about him. All he knows is that his father is a Dane barbarian. And for us to see his journey as a father, Uhtred so far, we've seen him as a warrior, a protector, a lover, but we've never seen him hands-on as a father. And as a father, he doesn't know much, because his entire life, it's always been him going out to protect Wessex, Mercia, Northumbria, the Danes. Wherever adventure took Uhtred is where he's went. So he didn't raise his kids. And I like the fact that this has been a few years since his wife passed. His kids are grown. They're teenagers now. They're adolescents, and they see their father, and they're both raised very differently. You have Stiora, his daughter, who is pretty much a Dane by blood because of the mother and Uhtred, but also her custom. She doesn't really fold or mesh into the Christian ways of Wessex. And then you have his son, young Uhtred, who is in the church, who believes in their God and who believes in all that. You see the dichotomy of the two kids. And even though they're both fundamentally different from each other in their belief systems and the way of life they decide to adopt, they have Uhtred's blood in them. They're hard-headed, they're prideful, they're strong, and they're stubborn as hell. So you can see where they get it from. But with everything that Uhtred has done for Wessex and Mercia, you would think that he would be treated better. But as Edward becomes a king, and you see all these different mechanisms playing in the court and all these people whispering his ears, despite everything Uhtred has done for Wessex, they did not send anyone with him to go reclaim Bebenbow. Edward himself is the king nonetheless. So he has his own way of thinking. And even though other people influence him, at the end of the day, he was all the power. And at this time, he doesn't know how to be king. He's not like Alfred in the sense that Alfred was decisive. Alfred would listen to all possibilities. Edward plays more on emotion. He's more of a child. So instead of going out to help Uhtred, he's following people who, his father-in-law who's whispering in his ear, his mother who's whispering in his ear. And you would think the guy who's been saving you your entire life, who's been saving your family your entire life, you would somewhat capitulate to Uhtred, but he doesn't. And because of his inexperience and his innocence, everyone is taking advantage of Wessex, and they lose Wessex at the end. But before we get to the end, let's talk about Knut, Brida, and Uhtred, because that dynamic is very interesting, especially when it comes to Brida, Uhtred, and then you throw Knut in the middle. Knut is the one who killed Ragnar at the end. He might not have stabbed them, but he put the plans in place to kill Ragnar. And when they find that out, both Uhtred and Brida kind of team up to take him out. Because remember, they were raised with Ragnar, and Brida was in love with Ragnar. Even though she's pregnant with Knut's baby, the fact that Ragnar was her love says a lot. And then you have the relationship between Brida and Uhtred. Because if you guys remember, in the very first episode, they were the two kids who were taken by Ragnar's father, and they were raised in the Danish ways. However, Uhtred decided to ally himself with the Saxons, while Brida herself is so entrenched in the ways of the Danes, and they kind of grew separate throughout the years, even though they held a close bond. But this season shatters it all, because at this point, Brida does not see anything besides rage, revenge, and the death to all Saxons, even though she's one herself. And Uhtred sees beyond that, and she can't seem to understand that no matter what happens, you can't bring Ragnar back. You can't find glory. Like, what she wants is chaos, death, and destruction, and that's not the way to go. Because I understand where she's coming from. She lost the love of her life, and the guy that she's with is the dude who killed the love of her life. Talk about fucking her up. But even though that happens, like, you have to understand, like, you can't go about that way. And she feels like every guy that she is with kind of betrays her. So when Uhtred has the chance to kill her and send her to Valhalla and end her suffering, he lets them take her as a slave to make her suffer more. Granted, it was not an act of harshness from Uhtred. It was more so him not wanting to kill her. Remember, she was like a sister, a lover, a friend to him. So for him to stab her, he just can't bring himself to do that. And he was, in a sense, showing her mercy, but she doesn't see it that way. And when she gets with Sigurd, and when she gets together with Sigurd, or whatever his name is down here. When she gets together with him, and she thinks that he's another barbarian like Ubba, like Knut. He's not. He's actually smart, and he understands. He's the first Viking who actually won land without much bloodshed, without a war, because he was able to come together, and him and Uhtred were able to understand what they needed. And now that he has Northumbria to himself, it takes the Danes and the English that much closer to lasting peace. However, the children of Alfred, who now run East Anglia, Mercia, and Wessex, has 3 of the 4 kingdoms, which brings us to Northumbria, the last kingdom where Bebenbog is. Understand this. The entire first few seasons, I thought the last kingdom was Wessex that stood against the Danes. However, the last kingdom is Northumbria, where Uhtred needs to go. So next season, or the next 2 seasons, are going to be wild. But overall, this season did not disappoint. It brought us a lot of things that I found interesting. It brought Uhtred's character to a point where I didn't think it could go anywhere. Like, I thought Uhtred had lost enough, but in this season, he lost more. His kids, his women, his land, his titles, everything is gone from him, and now he has nothing. And he lost Bebenbog. He's given up hope that he will ever get his homeland back. And that says a lot, because I want to see Uhtred back against the wall, nothing left to lose, essentially, and how he reacts to that. But anyway, guys, that's my review on season 4. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already. And until next time, binge on.